The British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good afternoon. My name is Sonia Kutenbauer, and here are your news headlines for 12 o'clock. Richmond will be holding a council meeting today to decide on the possibility of a safe drug consumption site, but not without conflicting opinions from the community. Reporter Aaliyah Andres has more details ahead of tonight's meeting.
Richmond City Council is set to make a decision today on whether to pursue a request for a safe consumption site near the Richmond Hospital. Earlier in the month, Council voted 8-1 in favor of further discussing the site after 2023 reported over 2,500 deaths linked to toxic drugs in BC. The idea has since attracted a lot of negative community feedback. A Change.org petition in opposition of the safe drug consumption site has received 17,000 signatures, as well as concern from residents that the site could bring more harm than good. The council is arranged to meet at 6:30 p.m. this evening. Aaliyah Andres, BCIT's The Crow.
And reporter Aaliyah Andres now joins us with more to talk about this story. Aaliyah, tell us more about the reaction that has come from the Richmond community. We heard a moment ago you said there's been a lot of negative feedback.
Yeah, Sonia. So a lot of the comments that I'm seeing about negative feedback about the consumption site is on that petition, like I mentioned, against or in opposition of the site. There's a lot of concern about the safety of the city and as well as children in nearby parks, elderly people, parents. There's actually one comment that I found that is a pretty good example of this. It reads, "The introduction of injection sites in any municipality has been a disaster for the neighborhoods. It brings crime, open drug use, dealers, and violence. Any council member in favor of this will not be voted in the next election. We oppose the deterioration of our city for the safety of our parents, children, and elderly." And so that opinion lives in basically every comment on the petition.
And we won't find out until tonight what the decision will be, but if the safe consumption site is passed, what will come next?
Yeah, so if this is passed, the Richmond City Council, they put out a press release and they basically said that if this is passed, it will then be put into the hands of Vancouver Coastal Health and well as Health Canada, and that will need them to be applying for a grant. They wanted to emphasize that Richmond alone cannot go through with this site. And they also wanted to say if this does go through that the sites will be supervised. The staff there will not be there to administer or help people be administering those drugs, but they will be there to provide recovery access and addiction treatments.
Thank you, Aaliyah. A conversation within the spirit of Black History Month is being held tomorrow night in New Westminster. Reporter Anthony Atanasov has more on a project that will see Black and Indigenous communities working together.
There will be a conversation tomorrow night highlighting the historical disposition and displacement of Black and Indigenous peoples in BC. Organized in part by Chantel Spicer, campaign manager with BC Poverty Reduction Coalition, she says the goal of the conversation is to create better tools towards greater housing justice. The talk happening at the Massey Theatre will also hold the presentation of a local housing project. This will feature a 96-unit affordable housing development in New Westminster for Black and Indigenous peoples. Brought forward by several collaborators including the Luma Native Housing Society, Swahili Vision International, and Aboriginal Land Trust, these groups felt that there was a need for affordable housing for members of Black and urban Indigenous communities. The Swahili Vision supports the building of a community village where two peoples and cultures may fuse together to learn from one another. Parliamentary Secretary for Anti-Racism Initiatives Rakna Singh says that culturally safe housing is an ongoing need and ensuring stability and critical supports are available to families. The new homes are expected early into this year. Anthony Atanasov with BCIT The Crow.
And Canada's Auditor General has found management failures following investigations into the development of the ArriveCan app. The app was developed amidst the COVID-19 pandemic in order to track health and contact information for travelers arriving in Canada. Karen Hogan says the app costed nearly $60 million, but due to poor management, it's nearly impossible to know how much was spent in its development. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre criticized the Liberal government's spending during a news conference in Ottawa.
He took $60 million of your dollars and put it into this Arrive scam. Think of that. When you see homeless people who can't afford a place to live, that Justin Trudeau took their money for this Arrive scam app.
Initial ArriveCan contracts were valued at $2.35 million. Hogan's findings said the sole-sourced external contractors were a large part in driving the costs up. And the city of Vancouver says they plan to make a street crossing outside of a high school safer, 2 weeks after a 15-year-old girl was hit by a car. The city says it plans to add proper crosswalk markings and flashing lights to the crossing located at West 16th and Wallace Street. The Lord Byng secondary student was initially transported to hospital with life-threatening injuries following the crash. Vancouver police have confirmed the teen is on the mend, but that the incident has resulted in life-altering injuries. Police say the driver remained at the scene and has been cooperative with investigators. Driver impairment is said to have not been a factor. However, VPD Constable Tanya Vicentin has said that investigators have not ruled out speed. ICBC data reported the intersection as having been the site of 24 crashes between 2018 and 2022. It is unclear whether the newly planned measures will be enough for the safety of local residents. And a diesel leak closed down Homer Street in downtown Vancouver on Sunday. The Vancouver Fire Rescue Services hazardous material team was called out to the intersection of Homer and East Georgia. Vancouver Fire Captain Matt Trudeau says the spill came from a tank leak on the 5th floor of the post building. Trudeau says crews discovered the sizable spill was leaking down into a couple floors below it. Patrons of the first floor Loblaws City Market were also evacuated. Crews say that as of 4:30 p.m. Sunday, they were able to reopen the street. And Vancouver Fire Rescue Services are also urging people to ensure they have working smoke alarms outside their sleeping areas. This comes after a three-story residential building in Vancouver caught fire yesterday morning. Fire crews say they were able to contain the fire to an individual suite. No deaths were reported. However, one person was found in serious condition and transported to hospital. The cause of the fire in the Nanaimo Street building remains under investigation. VFRS says the housing provider is working with residents who have been impacted by water or smoke damage caused in the fire. Police on Vancouver Island have arrested and charged a man with first-degree murder. A cyclist in Courtenay, BC was killed last week in a hit-and-run. Comox Valley RCMP say 45-year-old Stephen Squires of Cumberland, BC remains in custody with an additional charge of failure to stop. Police arrested the suspect on Saturday and have not revealed why the accused was charged with first-degree murder. The Vancouver Island Integrated Major Crime Unit took over the investigations after a bystander reported the injury on the Comox Valley Parkway. The cyclist was transported to hospital but later died of his injuries. Investigators do not believe there is a risk to the public and have since located the vehicle involved in the collision. 5 people, including 3 children, are dead as Manitoba RCMP continue to investigate multiple incidents, which they call separate but connected. Canadian press reporter Brittany Hobson has more on the tragic series of events.
A 29-year-old man was taken into custody Sunday morning, but police have not said what charges he may face. Cops were called to an area just outside of the town of Carman, southwest of Winnipeg, where an adult woman was found dead in a ditch. They later responded to an area about 70 kilometers north where they found a vehicle on fire and a witness who had pulled the kids out. A further investigation led officers to a home in Carman where they found the body of another woman. Mayor Brent Owen says a tight-knit community of about 3,000 is devastated to learn about the tragedies. RCMP expect to provide more information in the coming days. Brittany Hobson, The Canadian Press, Winnipeg.
That's all for your news headlines. Up next, sports.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
This is sports on 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Siggi-Kane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
This is sports on 1680 The Crow.
Welcome back. My name is Sonia Kutenbrauer, and here are your sports headlines for 12 o'clock. The Kansas City Chiefs have won the Super Bowl in a tight matchup over the 49ers. Led to victory by Taylor Swift's boyfriend Travis Kelce and quarterback Patrick Mahomes, the two led the Chiefs to a 25-22 point victory in overtime. ABC reporter Alex Stone caught up with some fans grabbing some memorabilia after the game in Las Vegas.
Ben has been to every Chiefs Super Bowl appearance in the last 5 years. They've been to the game 4 times. I found him in the seats collecting what had been left behind and was on the ground.
I'm picking up some cups and popcorn and towels to take back to everybody home. Give them
confetti, little souvenir.
And filling up a bag of confetti, bring it home.
Well into the night, the parties and celebrations were going here. Alex Stone, ABC News at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas.
This is the franchise's third Super Bowl in 4 years. The team is expected to take the streets of downtown Kansas City on Wednesday for their victory parade. And the Canucks have won their 35th game of the season. The team played a matinee game against the Capitals in Washington yesterday. Goals from Connor Garland, Nils Höglander, and JT Miller would lead the team to a 3-2 victory on the road. JT Miller would score the winning goal with 5 seconds remaining in overtime. The Canucks come back on top after a 4-3 OT loss to Detroit and a 4-0 loss to Boston. Forward Connor Garland had this to say about the team's efforts despite some tough matchups.
I think we've been happy with our competing effort for most of all the games. I think Boston was a slip up, but we were pretty good in Detroit and good again tonight, but just found a way to get one late in another tight game.
Canucks coach Rick Tocchet was also pleased with the team's win. Here's what he had to say.
Well, it's just a mucky game. You're going to have these games in an 82-game schedule. Thought some guys were tired, which that means you have to play smart. And we turned the puck over a few times halfway through the game. I thought we were a little bit better as the game went on, but some games you got to play when you don't have your legs, and you got to play smart.
Jen Powell is set to become Major League Baseball's first female umpire. The 47-year-old from New Jersey was selected to ump a full schedule of big league spring training games this year, according to insider reports. Insider reports were made anonymously to the Associated Press. However, confirmation of the decision is set to be announced later Monday. Canadian swimmer Pickram took a silver medal at the World Championships. Sydney Pickram placed second in the women's 200-meter medley on Monday at the World Aquatic Championships in Doha, Qatar. Born in Florida to parents from Halifax, the swimmer finished a personal best time of 2 minutes and 8.65 seconds. It's Canada's second swimming medal of the World Championships after the 4x100 relay team picked up a bronze on Sunday. Canada now has 4 medals overall in Doha, with Montreal's Jacqueline Simoneau winning a gold and silver in artistic swimming last week. And Canada's Fernandez picks up singles and doubles wins at Doha's tournament opens. Canada's Leylah Fernandez picked up a pair of wins Monday at the Qatar Open women's tennis tournament. Fernandez of Laval, Quebec, advanced to the second round of the singles draw with a 7-5 win over 12th seed Samsonova of Russia. She then teamed up with Kalashnikova of Georgia for a 6-4, 3-6 win. That's all your headlines for this afternoon. I'm Sonia Kutenbrauer, and you're listening to
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.